Hey everybody, it's You Had to Ask, the show where I answer your questions. And this week, my first question comes from the Nightmare Rider, who says, "Hi Steve, something has been on my mind since you talked about ignoring anti-feminists in a previous You Had to Ask. Do you think there are scenarios where we should step up and start to provide rebuttals to the dishonest arguments of people like Sargon of Akkad? With their popularity and how many people are unknowingly having their bias fed, from my perspective, we need to actively speak out to clear up the misconceptions and misrepresentations of feminism so that those who may not be as aware of how they are being deceived can better understand what feminism is actually saying. How do you find the balance between standing up for accurate information about what feminism wants to achieve while at the same time not becoming completely bogged down by those that won't listen?" There is a line between getting the right information out there, between sending the right message and helping people to discover the truth about social justice, about feminism in particular, because feminism seems to be the one particular social justice movement that people have the most disdain for, and about which the most voluminous misinformation is spread. But there's a line between doing that and just engaging with trolls and engaging with people who are not interested in having a real conversation at all. And it's tough. There is a gray area there where it's tough to determine who is who, and it's tough to determine which people deserve to be paid attention to and which arguments deserve to be paid attention to, more importantly, and which deserve to be ignored. But I think it's worth doing. And it's work that a lot of people are doing, actually. I think I look at the job of someone like me as identifying and sort of trumpeting those who are actually doing that work, who are actually getting that information out there, who are actually making the good argument. That's why I talk about people like my friend Christy Winters a lot. Christy Winters is someone who has an amazing YouTube channel and talks about atheist content, but also talks about feminism and lays out factual support for things like the existence of patriarchy in videos of hers that are just wonderful. And people like Foxy Jezebel, who I've mentioned before, who is able to speak with great eloquence and great experience about social justice from the perspective not of someone who views it as just a point to argue about, but from someone who views it as something that is very real and very vital and very important. So for people like me, I think, and perhaps people like you, Nightmare Rider, I don't really know who you are or what your situation is, but maybe the best thing we can do is to identify the people who are already doing those things, who are already making those arguments and countering these toxic, misinformed narratives that attempt to vilify feminism and other social justice movements. We can take the people that are already doing that work and probably doing it much better than we can do it ourselves anyway, and give them a signal boost. That's one of the things we can do, and it's one of the very important things that we should be doing. Patrick Dodds, Steve, what do you think it will take for the American public to take mental illness more seriously, or at least lessen stigma? An A-list celebrity coming out of the closet with a mental illness, maybe? A concerted movement of mentally ill people advocating for themselves in America? What are your thoughts? Maybe a prominent politician with a national platform, like at a presidential candidate level, someone very popular and very trusted and revered, making that a pet issue, making it a priority of his or her campaign or his or her political career, whatever they happen to be doing at the moment, to push for normalization of mentally ill people, to push for tolerance and acceptance and education, and pushing for greater access to health care for mentally ill people. I mean, there are all sorts of problems with the way we regard mentally ill people culturally, and with the way we treat them, and with the barriers we put in front of them to make their lives even more difficult than they already are. There are all sorts of problems with the way we handle this, and there are all sorts of ways we can fix it. We can work to end the stigma, as you said, to normalize it, to educate people that just because a person has a mental illness, it doesn't mean that they're crazy. It doesn't mean that they're dangerous. It doesn't mean that they are likely to go out and hurt other people. It means that they have an illness just the same as people have physical illnesses. And they need help, just the same as people who have physical illnesses need help. And there's no shame in it, and they shouldn't be made to feel embarrassed by it. They should be able to speak out about it, to be honest about it, and to seek help and to receive help. And yeah, I think it would take something like a celebrity, or more importantly, like a politician, like someone with stroke, with political power, to come out and say, this is important, we should be working on this. If President Obama came out next week and gave a major speech about mental health care reform and changing the way we perceive the mentally ill in this country, I think that would be wonderful. The irritating thing is, it seems like every time there is a horrible mass shooting in this country, there is a whole faction of people who cannot wait to find some way to blame the shooting on mental illness or on a mentally ill person, and then they will use that to say, see, the problem is the mentally ill. The problem isn't guns. The problem is mentally ill people. And then they do nothing whatsoever to help mentally ill people. They don't promote better health care, better awareness, better education for mental illness. They do absolutely nothing. All they try to do is say, well, it's not guns, it's mentally ill. But then they don't do anything to help. That really gets on my nerves, because it's just a total misdirection. It's an exploitation of mentally ill people to divert our attention from the gun issue. And it happens almost every time there's a mass shooting. There's always an attempt to say, oh, this is mental illness. But then if mental illness is such a problem that there are so many mass shootings, why aren't we doing anything about it? So even if you buy the bullshit argument that it's mental illness and not and not guns, it falls apart because the lack of action on it is incredibly telling. But yeah, never mind that little digression. It'll take somebody standing up, somebody prominent and powerful with influence, to stand up and say, either say, I am a mentally ill person and I have faced trials in my life because of this, and people like me deserve help, or someone to just stand up and say, look, this has gone on long enough, this is wrong, we need to prioritize this. I don't know how long it'll be before that happens, but I hope it does happen soon. Crow Bro, hey Steve, we all heard of toxic masculinity. As someone who spends a lot of time at gym and in locker rooms, I can say it's a real and sometimes scary thing. But I've been thinking, if there's such a thing as toxic femininity, qualities that are normally attributed to women that are harmful. Thanks, Steve. Love what you do. I suppose there's such a thing as toxic femininity, or at least we could talk about certain traits, certain characteristics in those terms. I actually, I looked it up a little bit before I sat down to do this video, and every article I found about toxic femininity was from some horrible men's rights website. It seems like a lot of anti-feminists have sort of seized on that terminology just as a reaction to the idea of toxic masculinity, which most of them don't seem to even get. They crucially don't seem to get that toxic masculinity is mostly focused on the ways in which gender roles and expectations for masculinity and for maleness are harmful to men. It's not about saying, oh, men are such shits, men are terrible because of the way they treat women and all their macho bullshit. It's about how masculinity harms men. And it's a feminist concept. So it kind of goes against the whole idea of, well, feminists don't give a shit about men. If there's an entire concept within feminist thought called toxic masculinity that is all about how traditional gender roles are harmful to men. But yeah, I guess maybe you could say things that are thought of as stereotypically feminine, like passivity, like the idea that a woman is supposed to be tolerant of her man, of her husband. A woman is supposed to be willing to put up with a lot. A woman is supposed to be willing to absorb abuse and absorb punishment and just sort of quietly take it. Oh, it's a woman's lot, you know. I think there are certain traditionally feminine characteristics that I think could be said, certainly, to be harmful to women, and could therefore be classified fairly as toxically feminine. The idea that a woman's first or perhaps only legitimate role in life is that of wife and mother. There are extreme cases where women are pressured socially or more directly by their spouse or by their family to keep having children long beyond the point of sanity, long beyond the point of health and safety, because it's just assumed that that's their role. That's what they're here to do. They're here to get pregnant and have kids, and it can eventually threaten their health if they continue to do it. That could be an example, albeit an extreme one, of what you might call toxic femininity. So yeah, I don't hear it talked about very much in those exact terms. I don't hear feminists or what I would consider credible, intelligent people talking about toxic femininity in those terms. But I do think it's a valid concept in theory. Otterkind. Hey Steve, what do you think of this story? And then there's a link to the story of Miriam Namaze being heckled at university during her talk. I consider myself a liberal feminist and also an anti-theist, so it really dismays me how some on the left seem to do all they can to promote religious privilege. I think Islam is a terrible religion, just like Christianity, but quite a few on the left can't seem to distinguish between disliking an idea and attacking people. Islam needs to be criticized. It deserves to be criticized. And when fellow leftists are too lazy to make any distinction between criticism of Islam and right-wing mouth breathers, they're just letting their religious privilege show. From everything I can tell, Miriam Namaze isn't a xenophobic racist, she's a feminist. The feminist and LGBT groups in that story seem to be exhibiting religious privilege of the worst kind. This is a tough one because I do think there is oversensitivity in favor of Islam. I do think there are people who will describe people like Miriam Namaze as being anti-Muslim when I, from where I sit, I don't think that's fair. But I understand where that oversensitivity comes from. There are very prominent people, including in the atheist community, who will insist up and down all day long that all they are doing is criticizing Islam, the religion, and criticizing the ideas, and subjecting it to the same sorts of critiques and challenges that we subject Christianity to. And yet they don't seem to realize that the arguments they are making are actually attacking and harming Muslim people in ways that they do not and would never accept being harmful to Christians or to other groups. There are those who will claim that they are just criticizing Islam, the religion, Islam, the ideology, the doctrines, and then they will say things like the fundamental tenets of jihadism are the same as the fundamental tenets of Islam, and the only reason that the overwhelming majority of Muslims are not violent jihadists is because they just don't take their faith very seriously. I, as a non-Muslim, have decided that you are not really Muslims. I mean, not really. You don't really take it that seriously. There are so many people who don't see how that is unacceptable and how that is not, and how that is counterproductive to our goal. If our goal is reform of Islam, if our goal is promoting moderation and tolerance and openness within Islam, and promoting better treatment for women and for LGBT folk and for non-Muslims, and promoting freedom and democracy and free discourse and separation of church and state, and all these things that we consider very positive, wonderful things, how are we supposed to promote these things in the Muslim world if we are basically turning off moderates, if we're just saying, well, you're not really Muslims? So I worry about that. I'm concerned about that. And that's a real problem. Now, the other side of that is that there are people who take it too far the other way. There are people who overreact or react wrongly to people like Miriam Namaze, who consider people who I don't think are Islamophobic, who I don't think are anti-Muslim bigots, to be those things. And there are people on the left who do that. And I think that needs to be spoken up against too. I think we need to support people, especially people who come from a Muslim tradition themselves, who are Muslims or are ex-Muslims, who are speaking out against the extremists and against the Islamists within the Muslim faith. I think we need to support those people. We need to listen to what they're saying. We need to allow them to educate us. And there are times when our well-intentioned desire to speak up against Muslims who are being vilified and demonized causes us to go a little too far. and to try to silence people who shouldn't be silenced, who should actually be listened to. So it's not that I'm saying that that's not a problem. That is very much a problem. And what happened to Miriam Demaze is unacceptable. I'm completely on her side with that. But let's not pretend that the other side of it isn't a huge problem. There are plenty of people on the left who claim to be making valid criticisms of Islam when they are doing no such thing. Veronica Kolinska, Steve, what did you think of the Batman v Superman and Captain America trailers? I love Marvel movies so much, so of course I love the Captain America one, but I'm totally disappointed by the Batman vs. Superman. Although Superman was so bad the last time, I was actually quite curious about this movie, but I think showing Wonder Woman's first appearance was a huge mistake. They should have showed her at any other moment, just not at her big reveal. Come on, leave some mystery. There would have been such an epic moment to see in the movie. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that this trailer made me totally uninterested in the movie, but I'm going to see it anyway. What's your take on that? It sounds like your position on the Batman-Superman movie after that trailer is exactly the same as my position, which is it doesn't look interesting, it doesn't look like something I'm going to enjoy, but I'm going to see it anyway, because they got me. They got me for at least one more. Here is my pledge to you. To you, Veronica, and to the viewers in general. DC gets one more movie from me. And I know they don't give a fuck because I'm just a dumbass on YouTube. They don't give a shit. I'm not trying to make like some kind of big statement here. I'm just saying for myself personally. The DC movies, the Man of Steel, Justice League franchise, they get one more. And it's this Batman v Superman movie. If this movie is as terrible as it looks, I'm done. I'm out. I'm not seeing any more. I'm not spending any more money to see movies that are just going to be fucking terrible and depressing and disillusioning and just make me angry. I'm just not going to do it. Because you're right, the Marvel movies are actually pretty good. The Marvel movies are usually pretty great, actually. And yeah, the Captain America Civil War trailer looked awesome. It looked so good. That moment at the end when Cap is trying to explain to Tony why he's turning against him and why he's fighting on, to defend his friend, Bucky. And he's like, I have to do it, Tony. He's my friend. And Tony says, so was I. I mean, what the fuck? What do you do with that? See, Marvel's got me too, but Marvel's got me for the right reasons. Marvel's got me because they have hooked me, because they've got me to actually care about the characters. I want to see what happens in Captain America Civil War. I care about the people that the movie is about, and I want to see what happens to them. Whereas it seems like Batman v Superman is built on this expectation of carnage, Ooh, Batman and Superman are going to fight, and it's going to look awesome, and check it out! Yawn. I could not possibly care less. The trailer made it look so awful. But I'm going to see it. My duty to Superman and Batman extends at least that far. I will see this one last movie. And then that's probably going to be it, because it really does look awful. Thor, though, speaking of thunder. Thor was a good movie. The first Thor movie was actually a better Superman movie than Man of Steel was. By about a mile and a half. It was actually way better. Anyway, it's time for
the lightning round. Rapid fire questions. Glib and adequate answers.
Joanna Roberts. Two men walk into a bar. Why didn't they see it? Because they were too busy arguing over how much wood a woodchuck would chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Vitamin W. In the Late Seating podcast, Jason perpetually sounds like his face is 5 seconds away from exploding. Do you ever fear for your safety when recording? No, I don't, because I live in Maryland and Jason lives in California. So even if he exploded and the explosion was the equivalent of a thermonuclear blast, I would still be completely safe. So no, I don't care. Zombie Pineapple. Which mainstream media has called out Trump on his fascism? Well, actually, the last couple of days, a lot of it has. The first major outlet, I believe, was the New York Times. The New York Times posted an editorial on its front page after Trump made his statement that we should just keep out all the Muslims. We have to. We have no choice. What a dick. What a bigoted asshole. Please, please nominate him, Republican Party. It was nice knowing you. Francois Lacombe. Hey, Steve, have you ever successfully solved that Rubik's Cube I see on the shelf behind you? We're referencing the shelf behind me in last week's video because I was shooting last week's video on my webcam in the laundry room where the bookcase was behind me. And there is indeed a solved Rubik's Cube on that shelf that you can see behind me in that video. And no, I have not ever successfully solved that cube. I have solved it. I have mixed it up and then solved it again, but I had to use step-by-step instructions. That's what a terrible Rubik's Cube player I am. I have never actually honestly solved a Rubik's Cube. Plaster Dragon. Today, the Senate passed legislation to defund Planned Parenthood and repeal the Affordable Care Act with a 52-47 vote. Why the hell do people vote Republican? I think people vote Republican because they are uninformed, they are selfish, or they are frightened, or some combination of those three factors. Old Comic 1, just curious, what cities are near enough to you that it's convenient for you to drive to them? Oh, the big ones are DC and Baltimore. Philadelphia is several hours away, but I guess I could get there. I've been there once. Harrisburg, which is a smaller city, but is still bigger than any of the cities around here. Harrisburg is about an hour or so away. So there are a few sort of within reasonable driving distance. Christopher Costello. Hey, Steve, do you think there is a meaningful distinction between an art and a craft? If so, what is it? I mean, I don't know if we should be losing too much sleep over drawing such a distinction. Maybe a craft could be a piece of art or a creation that is meant more for mass consumption or meant just to be sort of decorative or functional as opposed to having some kind of artistic purpose. Maybe we could draw that line, but I don't know. I think probably like a craft is more of a subcategory of the much broader and inclusive category of art. Kevin Logan, would you rather have hands for feet or feet for hands? I'd rather have hands for feet, because I assume I would still have the hands that I have. I would just also have hands on my feet, so I would have 4 hands. And it'd be way better to have 4 hands than to have 4 feet. What the fuck am I going to do with 2 extra feet? That's ridiculous. Yeah, hands for feet. Use the extra hands for something, you know? I mean, the other primates seem to do it okay. Why can't we figure it out? Jerry Bartoli. Steve, who's your favorite female main protagonist in a TV show? I actually have a great answer for this because it's a show that Ashley and I just started watching on Netflix a couple weeks ago. It's a show I remember from my childhood, but I didn't really watch it a whole lot when it was actually on TV. But my pick for favorite female protagonist is Jessica Fletcher from Murder, She Wrote. If you haven't watched Murder, She Wrote, and especially if you're like a big fan of 60s and 70s classic TV, at least the first season, because that's all the further we are yet. We're late into the first season. But man, the guest casts on Murder, She Wrote are fucking stacked. Every episode, it's like 4 or 5 recognizable faces that I know from old TV shows or movies. It's just, oh my God, it's amazing. The guest stars are phenomenal. And the character of Jessica Fletcher is great. She's a wonderful hero. A very unconventional hero. Even if she were a male character, she would be relatively unconventional because she doesn't rely on violence. She doesn't carry a weapon. The show is a detective show, but it's not like an action show. It's not a police procedural. It's a mystery. It's like a bunch of little Agatha Christie mysteries. And for American television especially, it's very unusual. Even today, it seems unusual. There aren't that many shows like that, and there haven't been since it went off the air. But I like Murder, She Wrote. It's a charming show. It's a good show. It's an entertaining show. And I think Jessica Fletcher is a terrific female protagonist. So she's who I would pick as my favorite. That's it for the questions. Oh boy, that tough Murder, She Wrote question, that tough female protagonist question, I had to end on that because it was just too taxing mentally to continue to answer those difficult questions. Time for the shout out. The shout out this week is a little different, and it seems like I say that like every other week, so maybe I should just stop saying that. But the shout out this week is different than I typically do because usually I give a shout out to someone whose YouTube channel I feel deserves attention because I agree with them on everything and I support what they do because they're basically saying things that I wish I could say as well as they said it. This week it's a little different. It is a YouTube channel and it is a fellow YouTuber, but it's someone who I'm guessing just by looking through her Twitter feed and just looking at some of her things, it's probably someone who I disagree with on quite a lot, and probably someone who disagrees with me on quite a lot, and maybe even thinks I'm kind of a dick. I don't know. We haven't really talked that much, but nevertheless, it's a YouTuber. Her name is Lizz Reptile, and I'm linking you to her YouTube channel and also to a particular video that she put up, and also to her PayPal account, because Liz is facing some difficulty this month. It's the holiday season. It's a rough time for a lot of people, and Liz is having an especially rough time. She is in a situation where she's not going to be able to afford to get Christmas presents for her kids. She worries that she's not going to be able to find a way to get her husband to work. She's been in some real financial trouble. She has a disability, and she's just been financially strapped, and she's in a really tight spot. And she put up a video called Will Art for Food, offering to sell some of her artwork to raise money to help pay her expenses and lift herself out of the hole. So what I want you to do is go to Liz's channel, watch her video, check out her artwork, check out her PayPal account, which if you just want to go straight there and make a donation, or use that to pay for the artwork that maybe you want to buy, you can go to paypal.me/Lizz Reptile and just check it out. She put up a video about this a couple days ago. It hasn't gotten very many views. It's only gotten about 92 views as I watch it right now, so I'm giving her a signal boost. I'm telling you, whatever you think about my opinions on feminism and men's rights and certain high-profile YouTubers with whom I disagree and whom I actually, frankly, have disdain for, who you might disagree with me about that on. If you're watching this and you want to help somebody who needs help this Christmas, check out Lizz Reptile's YouTube channel, check out her video, watch that video, share that video, help if you possibly can, buy a piece of her artwork that she's selling, or just donate out of the goodness of your heart with thoughts of getting nothing in return, but the feeling of doing good for someone who needs our help. It would be really wonderful if she would receive a nice swell of support and a nice boost of donations and of purchases as a result of this. So go check out Lizz Reptile's YouTube channel and do something nice for somebody who needs our help and who is big enough to ask for help from the community. Let's prove that we're a giving community and give to someone who needs help. I would really like to see that happen. And Liz, we interacted very briefly on Twitter. I honestly hope this helps. I hope that this can help get you out of a jam at least a little bit, and help out you and your family this Christmas. On a far more selfish note, I also want to remind you to check out the Lemme Listen podcast. These are podcasts from the brilliant mind of the great Jason Harding, my old buddy, my old pal, the creator of Opinionville here on YouTube, which you should be watching. And these are 3 podcasts that Jason does. There is Let Me Finish, that he co-hosts with Finite Atticus. There is American Monsters and How to Destroy Them, which is currently on hiatus in preparation for its 2nd season, but you can go back and listen to the whole 1st season. It's hilarious and it's awesome, and I highly recommend it. And there is also Late Seating, which is the movie review podcast that Jason co-hosts with me. It's one of my favorite things that I do, and it's something that I really wish you guys would all listen to and enjoy. It's a movie review podcast where we look at films of note, films that are 10 years old or older, that are considered cultural touchstones or significant films, and we watch them and we review them and we make fun of them, and then we decide whether or not they deserve the reputation that they have. And it's a great show. It's something I really enjoy doing and really enjoy listening to, because I'm vain and I listen to my own shit. I do that. And our episode this week is, I predict it will be either our most popular or our least popular episode ever, because the movie that we are reviewing in the new episode of Late Seating is Star Wars. That's right. Not Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Star Wars. The original Star Wars. And it was such a fun episode to do, and it'll be up later today if you're watching this video on the day that I upload it, so check it out. You can listen to that review and all of the other Late Seating podcasts and all of the other Let Me Listen podcasts by going to LemmeListenPodcasts.com. And I wish you would. I really do. Anyway, that's it for me, everybody. I am out of here. Please leave a comment on this video asking me your question for next time. Ask me anything about anything. Nothing is too serious. Nothing is too silly. I will answer as many of your questions as I possibly can in the next video. So until the next video, take care, everybody. Hey, guess who forgot to record an end tag when he had the other camera set up? Also, there's the Rubik's Cube that was mentioned earlier, so it all worked out. Can you see it in the tiny little frame? See, it was all part of the plan to record the end tag with this camera. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it and share it. Subscribe to my channel if you're not subbed already. And also, please consider helping me to make more videos like this by supporting this channel through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/SteveShives to become a patron. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.